Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Nerd Doom. So, I'm here, and this is Mike Brown.
And this is Addie.
So,
Did you miss us?
yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
That's our fault entirely.
Oh, definitely. It's been like a few months.
Chalk it up to laziness, not having enough time, laziness.
Mostly laziness. So, summer anime is starting up soon.
No, it's ending.
No, summer started.
Really?
We were on spring anime.
That was still all spring anime?
Yeah, spring starts from March
Okay.
to the beginning of summer. Like summer anime just started today, or not today, but like last week,
yeah.
technically, because it starts in the beginning of July. So spring anime was amazing this year. And
Yeah,
it seems
was.
like this past year so far has been really, really good in terms of anime.
Did we finish it all?
In terms of like all spring anime?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we haven't finished Fully Cooley.
What about Watakoi? Did we actually finish that one?
Yeah, that's finished for the year.
Oh. That was the last episode with just them running off to go watch that show?
Yeah,
Oh.
wasn't much else.
Okay.
If there was something else, I might have missed it. I think we were on episode 12. If it was 12, then no. If it was 13, then yes. I can't remember. But so I wanted to first ask you what was your favorites in this year's spring, because I know my favorites.
Watakoi was definitely a favorite.
Okay.
Hinamatsuri was good for a good laugh because of the stupidity of it. And then, of course, you got My Hero Academia just for like the action and some of the animation scenes.
Okay. Do you have a ranking on all those?
Watakoi is number 1. My Hero Academia 2, and then Hinamatsuri 3.
Okay. I would say I would rank mine. Let's see. Watakoi at 3. Hinamatsuri at 2, and Megalobox at 3 and 1. Megalobox at 1 for me.
Megalobox at 1 instead of Watakoi?
Yeah, well, like Watakoi's at 3, and then Hinamatsuri, then Megalobox at the top. So for those of you who don't know, if you notice that like a lot of ours is the same, if you know My Hero Academia, that's something we watch anyways, and this year has been awesome. But as much as I loved the two biggest scenes that came out of it, I was super impressed with all the things that were not continuing series at the time, and like all three of them have big impacts for me this year, not on like a sentimental level, but like in terms of it was the most entertaining.
Darling in Franxx would have made my list, but it got kind of weird there.
Kind of weird. It just went off the rails.
Yeah.
Like,
it wasn't bad. It was just like, and you've lost me.
It felt like, in terms of story, like the usual shit that A1 Pictures does with stuff.
Yeah.
It felt like, even though it's a collaboration between A1 Pictures and Trigger, it's just that by the wedding scene after that, it just was completely off the rails.
Spoilers, if you haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, Darling in Franxx, I would give it a solid like 6.
I mean, if you want like a good, just kind of like casual anime, it's a good one to have. But in terms of like, oh my god, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'll be looking. I mean, the animation's great for most of the time. So the battles was really awesome, especially if you care for like Trigger's like crazy mecha like
Yeah,
crazy stuff going on there. Then it's awesome, but it just went so weird for no reason, and it had a really awful way of explaining the entirety of why the world is what it is.
They went on too long to try to explain it in the time frame that they had. I feel like they could have explained what was going on in a lesser frame.
My biggest problem is that they didn't take the time to try to explain it throughout the series. They used one episode to explain the history behind the entirety of how the world is.
Yeah,
and that's what annoyed me. Sorry.
Excuse you.
And that's what annoyed me about it in general, like, because especially for a character that I didn't care about and for some reason want to make me feel like I'm supposed to be behind this person in any way. When you realize, like, you have to think about the fact that nope, he's been a dickbag the entire time apparently.
Yeah. And I feel like her like, oh, she's just blah blah blah. I'm like, really? That's all she is?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
So
'Cause I thought there was gonna be more to her, but no.
yeah.
That may be asking for too much, but
Yeah. So unfortunately, for something that we didn't know we wanted and decided we were super hyped up for it because it was a collaboration between like two of the biggest anime studios out right now. A1 Pictures, who if you don't know, that's same people that did Sword Art Online and a couple others I can't remember at the moment. And you have Trigger, who done Gurren Lagann.
Panty is talking.
No, that's
No?
Gainax. That's
Oh,
Gainax.
okay.
Your Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill. Like,
Okay.
let's go that route. Little Witch Academia.
Yes, I highly appreciate it. Oh, that's not considered spring because of Netflix hoarding it. Stop hoarding it, Netflix.
But
Ooh, only because of the time period that it came out in terms of English dub, Agretzko.
Agretzko was a solid 4 for me
Yeah, agreed.
in terms of
Only
ranking.
because it's so relatable.
Oh yeah, and then the biggest thing about it is that like two of these animes that I picked specifically are very relatable. Like they relate so well in ways that in a different way that I hope that happens more so in anime like before, especially Agretzko and Otokoi. Like both of those have been huge ways of like being not just the anime for kids kind of situation, but really trying to focus on like how adults really are in life. Like, and that was a big thing for me. Cause we were actually having a discussion before about at least Agretzko in terms of like, just because of the fact that it is in a different environment in Japanese culture and environment, but the theme of the entirety of the anime
Yeah,
just knocked it straight on the head.
yeah, basically, if you've never seen it, it's set in like our world type of thing, but all the people are animals. And Agretzko is a red panda who's an office worker, and she's an accountant, and with many other accountants in this office. And she's kind of very quiet, like, sure, we'll do that, yeah. But at night, she goes off to a karaoke and just metal for life.
Yeah, karaoke and screams death metal at all times.
Yes.
Which every death metal song apparently in the songs is perfectly like songs that has to do with the situation that she's in.
Yeah, basically she's raging out her feelings.
Yeah, which is kind of funny that the songs are that perfect apparently.
And I love how she ends up making like friends with like the top 2 high women in the office.
Well, yeah, like you have the executive assistant to
And the
the
secretary
CEO.
assist. Yeah.
Yeah, CEO. And then you have, I forgot what the other person does. I think she's like the head finance or whatever.
Something like that. I don't fully remember.
Yeah, like they all have jobs. They all have like actual titles. They all work, and that was the biggest thing. It's regular work. It's just about like it just comes up in kind of a cutesy and funny way. And then the other one, Otokoi. I mean, Otokoi is probably like a couple's dream in anime. I would like to say because it is so relatable for almost not just like couples that are nerds specifically. To clarify, Otokoi, Life is Hard for Otaku is about
Not life, love.
love
is hard for an
love is
otaku.
hard for otaku. Thank you. So it's about essentially these couple nerds, and it starts off with this girl who I can't remember her name unfortunately, and she kind of moves to a different place in order to get a new job after getting dumped, and ends up meeting a childhood friend of hers, and you learn very quickly that they're big nerds. Like she's kind of super into.
She's an otaku for boy love, and she's also a doujinshi author.
Yeah, she's
and
a
artist.
doujinshi artist. I think she specifies in BL. In as well. But yeah, she ends up finding her. She ends up finding out that her childhood friend in middle school ends up being in the same company as she works at, and he's a like avid gamer. Like he's one of those gamers that kind of like just sits and doesn't talk too much kind of situation. Just good at it, like unnaturally good at it. It's kind of like a friend of ours.
Yeah, yeah.
Except he's way more social than this guy. But they end up together, and that's pretty much the whole thing. It focuses on them two, and also focuses on their friends who happens to be high school dream hearts that's been together since like forever.
Yeah, but they were kind of like rivals in high school, though.
Yeah, they played sports and crap. They were normies who were also otaku. Cause she's that person. She's a cosplayer, like really really good cosplayer. One of those cosplayers that can cosplay a guy character and no one would bat an eye kind of situation.
Yep.
And the other guy is super into moe and Lolia kind of
But
situation.
he's like kind of like, I'd rather read this at home
Yeah,
and
but
like not be on.
he's
public
also
with
kind
it.
of a hard ass. You could tell he's the supervisor over there.
Yeah.
Like in that situation, he's kind of a hard ass, but he's such because of like the way he looks like a delinquent if anything.
Yeah.
But he's like super softy, loves like cutesy moe stuff. And that's all he reads is all he really gets into. But it's really about their relationship, and the biggest thing about it is that I focus less so on the main relationship than on the supporting relationship, because they seem to hit home, at least for me, a lot of things in the relationship and serious questions and serious like things that happen in the relationship that we have definitely have talked about and been into a couple of times.
I think part of that reason is because the supporting characters have been together longer than the main characters.
Well, that's why
so you as a viewer or a reader, if you're reading the manga, are going along for this whole new experience and relationship between the main characters, but then you have these other characters who have been steady for a really long time. So if you've been you yourself or like us have been in a long relationship, you kind of get that little bit more of a connection with the side character, but you highly appreciate and still laugh at and adore and kind of go with the newer relationship, because you want it to, you kind of almost get to the point where like, you want that to succeed.
And even with the main couple, they still like go on to like different aspects of a relationship that we still ask of the day. Like specifically in the main girl in the relationship, she definitely has a situation where there's a couple times she asks herself whether she actually likes this other person and actually wants to be with them, or is she just settling to be with him because it's safe, because she knows him well,
and he doesn't really judge her per se.
Yeah, and that's like the biggest thing. And he thinks the same thing. It's one of those situations where it's like constantly like they think of something that could be something that worries them about the situation, but they don't want to say it because they're scared that it might turn them away.
Yeah.
And it's like it's things like that in this entire series, and like this short like 13 hopefully just one season.
I kind of want a second season just to have a little bit more to it, but nothing like major.
Oh, sorry. I meant to say just one season of any seasons.
Yeah.
But because like if I want more anime like that, I want more anime that really is grounded into what the relationship. And the biggest thing about it, they're not high schoolers.
Yes.
They're not high schoolers, which is a huge happy thing for me. Is one of those things where I know why it's popular, I know why it's a thing, and why it's gonna continuously be a thing. But I'm so flippin' sick of it. Like, there's so much out there that I am not related to because they're in high school. I don't feel the same way I would.
No, we've gotten past that stage. We're past that awkward stage of what do I do? I don't really know who I am. All that other stuff. Whereas now we're in the workforce. And I mean, mind you, we've been married 4 years, so we don't have to worry about the, oh my God, does he love me kind of thing, or does she like me kind of thing. It's more or less of, what are they going to do today?
Yeah. And then, like, even then, just like, again, like the second characters, they have different issues, like, because you become, the more you're with somebody, the more you know them. And unfortunately, the more you know about their tropes and what you may not like about them.
Yeah.
And that's, like, the thing we became more relatable to in terms of the supporting couple is the fact that they're at that situation where they're dealing with all of their highs and lows, and it feels like they feel like they're having nothing but lows.
Oh my gosh, the one episode where I don't want to spoil it too much, but they went to a theme park, and they're just sitting on a bench, and all you hear is, "We should end this." I was just like, but mind you, that whole topic was like being pertained to something else that was happening in that entire
One of those things
episode.
that's scary. It was like, oh god, they're gonna get. They're
Like,
gonna
oh
go
god,
hard.
please no. Okay.
No, they're talking about something else entirely. Okay.
Yeah. Now, so we have that, and those two are highly relatable because of the situations that they're in. But then you have the ones like Hina Matsuri, which is in that same comedic genre and timing as Konosuba.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you have ever heard of Konosuba, I don't know the entire name of it. It's based off a light novel. It's really, really long. But Konosuba is a hilarious. It's probably
It's a really funny
favorite.
isekai, and it's one of my favorite isekai.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite comedy in the past decade. Like in a long time. I haven't watched an anime that funny, and I didn't think I could find.
Wait,
another
which one,
anime.
Hina or Kana?
Konosuba. I was
Okay.
getting to that. I didn't think I would find another one like Konosuba, like that funny and that much comedic timing and that much relatableness of the characters and all that stuff.
Yeah, because you had serious
Hinamatsuri-
situations, but they were like, wait, what?
Hinamatsuri might have topped that for me. I'm not lying. I'm not seriously lying to you that Hinamatsuri like took everything that I loved about Konosuba and kind of cranked it up to 11 in some cases. Like it was because you have such beautiful comedic timing and wonderful writing, which is the best part of the entirety of the anime.
Yeah,
and these kooky characters that are like you think would be odd, but has like surprisingly very relatable kind of ideals and thoughts that anybody can think of.
They're not necessarily relatable. I mean, they can be, but they're understandable.
Yeah, it's very understandable and very, very much wants to get into. So, to explain what Hinamatsuri is a comedy about essentially this guy named oh man, I wish I could remember his name.
I don't remember his name right now. Oh, you want to look that up? Nita. So basically, Nita is a part of the Yakuza.
Who's a Yakuza thug, to be specific.
With a fetish for vases for some reason.
That's the weirdest part.
He likes to collect them.
Yeah.
Like,
But
no, not just any vases, expensive vases.
it's pronounced vase.
Vase. Ooh, thank you.
So it's about this Yakuza thug called Nita, who randomly ends up with this random like package ball that ends up crashing.
Teleports / crashes into his home.
Yeah, and when he presses the button on it, it comes out a live girl, and you learn that the girl Hina is a psychic that came from some
Not necessarily psychic, but like psychokinetic.
No, psychic.
No. I looked it up and they called her a psychokinetic. Because she's able to, yeah, whatever. So yeah, basically she's fairly powerful and she can do a lot of different things. Like she can lift things with her mind. She can do all these different forces, and she ends up living with him. And he's kind of reluctant about it at first, but eventually he kind of grows into it and becomes like her surrogate stepdad, whatever.
Yeah, some of the biggest part of it about this series is one, the writing is probably the best part in the entirety of it. The comedic timing that comes along with that is
and it's
amazing.
not just the comedic timing; you get character growth.
Yeah, and I was about to say two is the characters. It's very rare you have a comedy where you have actual characters growing out of what they are perceived to be funny for, and still be funny. Especially to put on for Hina and Nita. Like there's this one situation where Nita is constantly going after this woman who happens to be
A bartender.
or
she's the owner too.
the owner of a bar that he frequently goes to, and then after a while, after like a weird situation, and spoiler alert, after a weird situation, he ends up finally having a date with her because of Hina trying to get her to go, and Hina kind of says in a weird misunderstanding kind of way and saying that, I need you to be my new mom kind of situation.
Yeah. Or no, she tells him that you need to find me a mom.
Yeah, he tells him he needs to find me a mom, and she decides that because he wants her so much that she's supposed to be her new mother. And that's basically what she went to her to make her go have a date with him. And then all the time he ended up talking about Hina the entire time, and she kind of sort of decided to not be with him because she essentially says, I don't want to be in front. I don't want to. What did she say?
I don't want to get between them.
Not. She didn't say that.
No.
She said. I don't want to date a divorced man. A divorcing. A single father. That's what she wanted to say. And he was confused by that. There was a weird misunderstanding. But even then, usually they would go back in a comedy situation. They would go back and he would just try to go after her again. Instead, he gets over her and eventually learns that she's an awful person. Mm-hmm. Like all the things that she does, especially to Hitomi.
Yeah, Hitomi.
Oh my God, poor Hitomi. So Hitomi is another character who
don't spoil too much now. We don't want to talk about too much.
Hitomi is another character that she comes in like the first episode.
I know.
Understand there's huge amounts of like characters. I can't remember the actual writer and creator of the anime, but he done a lot of animes and mangas that like has a huge cast. Mm-hmm. And Hitomi is one of those ones where it kind of and mind you, the anime kind of focuses on 3 separate people. You have Hina, Hitomi, and Anzu. Anzu is another psychic, psychokinetic who crash lands is supposed to pick up Hina, but then gets stuck there.
Because her teleport ball got wet.
Yeah, and then she becomes homeless. And Hitomi is a classmate of Hina after Hina starts going to school, who just has a hard time saying no ever.
Very much so.
And so she kind of ends up in a lot of situations where she definitely shouldn't be at her age.
And the fact that no adult questioned it.
Which they are in middle school, mind you. Mm-hmm. At like 13, 14 kind of situation. And she ends up in these crazy situations that like makes no sense. Like the fact she ends up in the second episode as a bartender in the bar for the rest of the time, and no one questions it in any way or believes that it's her, because there's no way
that a 14-year-old girl could be working in a bar.
It's
not possible. She must be really
honestly,
short.
I'm not worried about spoilers. If you haven't watched it, just don't listen for right now. You can skip to later about this. But the crazy thing about me is how is Hitomi has all this time to do all these jobs.
Oh my God.
Like at the same time. She becomes a bartender, an office worker,
window
washer, construction. The biggest part is probably the office worker.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there like, how does she go to school?
Yeah, I didn't even ask that when we were watching that. But the cool thing about this show is, again, you get the great comedic timing, and then you also have the character growth. But the writing and everything in this is actually really good. The animation is wonderful. And that was a pretty good one for the summer. And you get a lot of the popular people like Gigads and Mother's Basement and stuff, and they're talking about this anime. So yeah, it's a good one. One of my other choices? Watakoi.
You talking about My Hero?
I did say My Hero. Now, My Hero being the newer part of the season, I enjoyed it for what it was, just because I thought they did a fairly well job on it. My only complaint is it did feel a little rushed in certain parts, and then like some of the fight scenes were kind of like meh. The animation for certain parts of the fight scenes were like, oh my God, but otherwise it was just kind of like, and okay, yeah.
Well,
I expected that. But then again, it's a shonen. It's a shonen.
It's a battle shonen.
Yeah.
I mean, so like the biggest thing I got out of the season is that it has some of my least favorite scenes of the series so far, and some of my literally favorite scenes of so far. Everything that had to do with All Might in the last fight against All for One was amazing. No matter what. There's no words I can say that would make me like bleed out like so much of my brain blown from the entire speech. We just watched a clip of it because we're obsessed with the English dub version of it so much, mainly because Chris Sabat is like the perfect pick for All Might.
Yeah, he's amazing. We even called that he would end up being the English
we called
dub.
it. We definitely said it. As soon as we first heard about it and we watched it, we were like, if flipping Chris Sabat is not All Might, I will be angry.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way that Chris Sabat couldn't be All Might. And it was true in every way. When we finally watched the first season, like, as soon as he got his, to go beyond, like, scene, just,
You fanboyed very hard.
real hard. Oh, real hard. I'm not gonna lie. Chris Sabat is one of my favorite voice actors of all time.
And he's an amazing human being.
Yeah, and he is an amazing human being. But we randomly watched a clip of one of the last scenes when he fights against All for One, and it's one of those situations where everyone has the argument of subs versus dubs, and I don't care. I think both are equally just as
There are
fine because
certain
the writing and cultures are completely different.
Right.
It's
like,
hard
you don't like the dub for what's that one you were watching on Netflix?
Saiki K.
Yeah.
That's just because that has a lot to do with the
comedic,
the comedic timing of Japan and the way that anime is, and especially it's all based on wordplay. It is hard. It is really, really hard to translate Japanese humor into America. It's real hard.
Yeah, and if you've ever listened to, like, some of the older Funimation DVDs, I don't know if they still do them now because I haven't purchased many recently. Sorry, Funny. But some of the older ones, a lot of the ADR directors will, when they're doing like a behind the scenes kind of thing while they're watching the episode with you, they'll have, like, they're talking with it. A lot of them have admitted that it's kind of hard to translate certain jokes or humors from Japanese over to English properly, and they try their hardest to get that, but sometimes it's just that translation. But plus, they also have a limited amount of, say, mouth flaps or time to deliver that punchline, where something in Japanese can be delivered with a single word, which could mean that in English, you're having to deal with, okay, well, they said a single word, so that means I only have so much to say something.
And then the biggest thing I know about in terms of humor, at least the Japanese humor, a lot of it's wordplay. Especially if you have an anime that's based his entire jokes on wordplay, like Saiki K, like there's barely any like actual like physical gags or anything of that nature. If there is, they're funny, but like that's not what makes it funny. It's the really ridiculous wordplay. And oh my god, there's this one wordplay that's all about the number 27. And man, is that like a really, really funny thing when you understand it. Because that's also one that you don't understand unless you know Japanese culture enough. And like you put it out in English, it was real hard to like try to laugh at that. And I was trying to get it, but it didn't happen. But to say about that, it's one of those few times where I actually prefer the dub in many cases in My Hero than in sub.
I highly appreciate how Funny was able to match voice tone, I guess, for each character, because like you have the English dub for the English voice actor for Deku, and then you have the Japanese voice actor for Deku. They're fairly similar in terms of tone and voice and vocal.
I believe
I believe so. If we're wrong, we'll correct that. And of course for All Might as well. Like we kind of guessed it over that, but then you have other characters that you listen to both English and Japanese, and they're going to sound a little different just because, again, language. But you listen to it and you go, okay, yeah, I can accept that. I accept that. I like that. And then, of course, it boils down to I prefer this over this. And there are some people that are like, no, dub only or no, sub only. But that's a Schrodinger's anime, if you will,
I think
in terms of argument.
And so I would like to take that and just go sideways into that argument, because my thing about it is that I feel like people argue dubs versus subs only because they have a pre-notion narrative that they like, and they hear first. And I know a lot of it's like they heard this first, so everything else sounds weird.
No, I can understand that because I have a certain one like Soul Eater. I saw that first in Japanese, and I highly appreciate it. And when they dubbed it, I listened to the dub version because I had to, because I was just like, I really liked this anime. I want to see how they did it in English. And the English dub was really good too, but there were certain parts of it that I felt that in English it didn't hit like it did in Japanese.
Right.
So,
and my thought process on that is that some of the, and I understand that argument a little bit, but I don't like it when people just straight up say I don't like it because of that. I don't mind you saying like this feels weird for me hearing it this way. I don't know if I can get over it. And I understand that situation. I don't really like it. What I more don't like is when someone just says I just don't like subs because subs are way better than dubs. There are no good dubs. And I was
That's
like,
not a good
that's
enough
not
answer.
true. And then my thing is that is not true. There are plenty of good dubs. No person should say subs are better than dubs and then go back and only watch Ghost in the Shell in English and only watch Cowboy Bebop in English and only watch Trigun in English. You
Yeah,
can't say
no.
that. You cannot say that you like a sub better than a dub if you're still liking dubs of something better than you heard the other ones. Like, well, I never heard it that way. And I was like, that doesn't matter. Like, you would know how to be able to get to that point now. It said it before, it's easy to get that situation now.
Yeah.
But my thought process on that is that when I get there, I don't think of just how it sounds. I think about the writing. I think about the tone. I think about like how it was directed.
That's how I'm getting to it at this point. Like before, I never really had sub versus dub because most of the anime I was watching, I ended up watching, say, like on Cartoon Network or online, or somebody let me borrow their DVDs. So I didn't really have a preference per se. And when I finally got the chance to be able to actually listen to anime in the original Japanese and then also listen to it in English, I wasn't going to sit there and be like, oh, I hate it. Mind you, I do have one anime that I just can't stand in English, partly because I don't
Fushigi
fully...
Yugi because it's awful.
Well, I never actually saw that one.
Okay,
I never cared for that one.
You're lucky.
D. Gray Man.
Oh, yeah, D. Gray Man.
Certain characters I agreed with, like Todd Habercorn as Alan Walker, I liked. My only complaint was I did not like Kanda.
Who was played by
Travis Willingham, and he's a fantastic voice actor and all that stuff. It's just I did not agree with that particular deep baritone voice for that character. I didn't feel like it fit properly. I felt it was too deep. But am I going to say, oh my god, I hate this anime, I hate this dub? No, I'm just going to say I don't particularly agree with that casting choice, but it wasn't horrible.
Well, so to go back to that thing in terms of using it for My Hero, my thought process on that is that both sounded amazing, right?
Yes.
Let's go to just the first season scene, All Might versus Nobu.
The first Nobu?
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
Nobu. And like you have to think about both cases are
Excuse you.
super badass. One of the most badass moments in the entirety of the anime, entirety of the series. Doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh.
Like this is one of your first times you realize All Might is All Might, and you feel like no one can touch him.
At that point. Like if you were on the side, like
It's
if you
also
didn't
a huge
realize.
omen, but
No, yeah, like if it's at that point, if you don't realize what's happening with him, you're like, oh. But if you're like Deku and you know what's going on, you're like, oh god.
yeah, and but when you hear it, we first heard it in sub, then we heard it in English, and I felt exactly the same for both situations.
Agreed.
Except for two lines.
Which one?
And the two lines is to go far beyond.
Right. Or is it
Plus
further
ultra.
beyond?
To go far beyond plus ultra.
Right.
There, and mind you, everyone knows what that is. I'm not going to scream it into the mic like that, but it's essentially his last two lines before he just gives the final blow to knock Nobu out the flippin' dome and just fly off. And so like there is a feeling I felt in both situations where the first thought process I have is this is how strong All Might really is. Like I didn't know this is what he could be, even at what felt like about 3/4 strength. Like,
Right.
And that's him going beyond in that situation. That is insane. And the first thing I thought was reading this up, I was like, wow, this character is an amazing character. And he's not like your typical like Superman character.
No.
He is the hope, he is the symbol of justice in this world.
Right.
And he is like the only reason villains are not ramping about. And not because he's just stronger or
not
anything
out
in
in the
nature,
open.
but because of the fact that his ideals literally bleed into the entirety of the community. That's what I felt. Now when I watched the dub version, I felt that and so much more. And it's just the way Chris Sabat put the tone into what he said. He wasn't it was like he was talking not only to the audience, to Nobu there, he was talking to the rest of the people that was around him. He was basically saying that not just like me, you can go beyond. You can go out there. You can be more extra and more of a part of society that truly believes in what justice is and what being a hero is like. That is what I felt like when Chris Abbott did that line, and I cried like a bitch when he did that line, because when he did that, it felt so much real. Like, he wasn't just talking to the rest of the characters and to Nobu. He felt like he was talking to me. Like, and that's like a huge thing to be able to do that. That is veteran gold from somebody who's had like over 500 voices, like, who understands like what this character really means, not only to him but to everyone else.
Yeah, and his performances like that. And mind you, this Chris Sabat is a veteran in terms of voice acting at this point. Him along with other people like Todd Haberkorn, Steve Bloom.
Yeah.
They're veterans at this now. Caitlin Glass, oh my God, there's
Carey Walgren,
yeah.
I mean, Richard Epcar. I mean,
yeah.
Like, we can go down a list of all these veterans that's been doing it for 20 plus years.
Doing it.
Yeah, that's been doing it for 20 plus years, and just understand how to really internalize it. It truly shows, as a person that aspires to be a voice actor and as an actor, what it means to really be not just a voice actor, but take the part that what it really means to be an actor, even if you're just behind a mic. Yeah.
But then that's not to say that these newer people who are coming in, like Micah Soledad,
Justin Brenner.
Like, Justin Brenner
as Deku is flipping amazing.
No, he did a fantastic job. Like, he'll have certain parts that like are really emotional for Deku, and you can't tell me that certain lines you haven't sat back and you just gone, I'm not crying.
Erica Mendez.
Oh my gosh, Erica, yeah. She's really good. I love how she can, her range.
Her range is very, very...
really nice. Because she can go from, yeah, what do you want, to, hi, how are you? It's fantastic. Yes.
And Wendy Lee's, oh God, that's like, again, another veteran that's been up there for so long and is just one of the greatest. But it's so nice to see that there's new talent that comes out there, and not necessarily like new talent, but been doing it for a while and like started getting getting big roles.
Like Max
Middleman, Robbie Damon, Ray Chase, all of these people who are coming out and are really, really good, and still feels like they're an actor behind the mic, not just a voice actor.
Yeah,
it means a lot of difference to be able to create not just to play a character, but really create a persona that feels very real.
Not to be a pun on some of their characters, because they are in persona as well.
That's pushing it.
Yeah, but it's, before we move on to why you like Megaloboxing, but I think that's the reason why a lot of us highly enjoy anime, not just because the animation of it's really great, not just because the stories are fascinating and different. It's the fact that you have these characters, be it subbed or dubbed, that you can look to and you can relate to in some way, or you can somehow feel attached to. And especially in English dub, since it's a little bit easier to listen to because you're not having to focus on reading what's being said and then looking at the characters. When you get a good dub, like a proper good dub, and a line comes across that you liked in Japanese, say if you watched it first in sub, it comes across in English, like you said, and it still hits you, and you're just like, oh God, nope, yep, mm-hmm.
Give me the tissues. Give me the tissues.
That, or you're rooting for that character even more. You're like, yeah, get him, go, or whatever it is. It's skills like that and performances like that you're going to be like, I'm going to come back for more.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and now hi, Talon. Kat joined us. Your other favorite one, your number one, was Megaloboxing.
Yeah, Megalobox, to be specific.
Excuse me. So Megalobox, if anyone's not aware, is, of course, as the title kind of implies, is a boxing type anime. If you're not aware of it, I do highly recommend watching it. The history behind it, it's really nice, and I highly appreciate it. It's actually not necessarily a reboot, but a different take on Oh my god, I can't remember. I know it's
Ashita
something.
no Joe.
Ashita no Joe. Thank you.
Or I think in America it was called Challenger Joe.
Something like that.
So
Basically, yeah.
it's in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of Ashita no Joe, which was the most popular, what felt like and still feels like one of the biggest sports anime of all time.
It's also what helped launch shonen genre. So for those of you who like Naruto and all this other stuff,
yeah.
you're welcome.
Yeah, all those Ashita no Joe, Kappa Tsubasa, they were kind of the old school big times at the time. And again, it's been 50 years since it came out. It was one of my favorite animes of all time, and one of the first times I really understood what a sports anime was like, in terms of like a good sports anime. And not to go down on any of the people that likes
Prince of Tennis.
Prince of Tennis. Well, Prince of Tennis I feel like is a really, really good one.
There's certain seasons of it that you can probably say, yeah, I could do without
Yeah,
that.
but like
anyway.
it paved the way for a lot of sports anime like Prince of Tennis, Slam Dunk.
Free.
Yeah, and
I mean, it is
that's what I'm
competitive
saying.
swimming.
Not knocking down on ones I don't like Free, which is having a third season now.
No, not surprised.
Free, Kuroko no Basketball,
Pedal.
Yawashi Pedal, which I love Yawashi Pedal. I've been having a hard time watching it because I just don't want it to end yet. But but they're having another season soon. Yeah, it was a great classic. It was an amazing classic that lasted for a good while.
And the ending of it, oh my god. I'm not going to say it on here because I feel like if you've never read or seen it, you need to.
Just feel so angry.
Because the ending of it, yeah, well, it's one of
and
those...
sad and hopeful.
It's a mystery, I'll tell you that right now. But it's really good. So you get to today with Megalobox.
Yeah, Megalobox is essentially a celebration for it.
Yeah,
and
so it is...
It's a modern sports anime based on boxing, obviously, in the title. And it focuses on this, I guess you would say, a scrap riffraff called Junk Dog. And Junk Dog is a guy who essentially like makes money by throwing fights for a guy who's been sort of running for him for a while, and then he learns that this big conglomerate is making this tournament called Megalomania. Megaloboxing is essentially boxing with an exosuit, essentially like an arm attached exosuit. And essentially what happens is Junk Dog gets excited and wants to do it. The guy who's his manager ends up cutting a deal with person that they owe money to. If they make it to Megalomania, they'll free up everything they have. And so he kind of goes in and fights in tournaments to get up to Megalobox, and that's pretty much the whole thing. It's his rise to the top kind of situation, a true underdog situation. And one of the biggest things, probably the first biggest things you'll ever enjoy out of it is how raw it feels. It is probably and again, not to downplay any of these other animes, that any of the sports animes that has these very high production.
Each sport is going to come with a different type of feel to it, and a different type of fandom in terms of what it is.
But it seems like the favorite in sports animes has always been the like super high production, like almost majestic kind of plays that comes around. It almost feels like they come up with like terms that's like almost magical kind of situation. This is straight up raw boxing. There's no specials. There's no like weird things that they're doing. It is just straight up raw, dirty place. And the setting alone is one of the biggest things ever, because it reminds you of places like Trigun and Cowboy Bebop in terms of tone and setting and this desert-like feel to it.
Yeah, and then of course you get great music to go with it. I'll tell you this: if you watched Devilman Crybaby recently or anytime from Netflix, and you kind of enjoyed the parts where it had the rapping stuff, it does this in Megaloboxing as well. So if you enjoyed that, there's that. But then, of course, the soundtrack itself is really amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're obsessed with the Samurai Champloo soundtrack, you'll be obsessed with this soundtrack.
To quote Gigads, what did he say? It was...
Giga said, if Cowboy Bebop and if Cowboy Bebop and Trigun had a baby had a baby with the sound with
No,
this
something else. It's like
it was like if you had the setting of Cowboy Bebop with the no. It was this. If you had the boxing of Hajime no Ippo with the setting of Cowboy Bebop, with slapped on some music from Samurai Champloo, you had Megalobox in essential.
yeah, mind you, we're not gonna like word for word quote that. Go check out Gigut's video about Megalobox,
Yeah.
and then you'll see what we mean.
But to reference a lot of things about that soundtrack is probably one of the best things part of it. It is such an amazing soundtrack done by Mamumba, I think that's what it's called.
know.
But he's a hip hop artist who produced and did the whole soundtrack, which I was super happy about. It was awesome. The setting's really great. The fighting's like super fun to watch. Like very like gritty and raw and very feels like a real boxing. And really felt like
Sorry.
but I mean it's kind of interesting how like this anime was just so like gritty and so entertaining at the same time, and also like extremely like it felt so old school for what it was.
The
Like,
animation was really good too.
it felt like it really felt like a modern take on it. Now the director of this anime, Yu Moriyama, also done like some other stuff that I was like, oh well, I can understand why he can pull things like that, like in a very good way. Like he done what was it? Lupin, the woman called Mina Fujiko.
Oh yeah.
He was also head of the art department for Tanya.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
evil Tanya. Yeah, so like if you want to know, like you want to feel like if you want to know like how a person directs the art in terms of like a very gritty and like raw feel into things, this is definitely it. But Megalobox is so good. There's no words that I can put into it that I can really put into it. But I think you should watch it. It's on Crunchyroll, Funimation, all that crap. Watch it. It's great. It's amazing. Can't really say more. But we're gonna take a break. Take a 5-minute break, and we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Hey, we're back.
Wine, I have wine. What are you gonna do about it?
I ran out of beer, so or my beer bottle specifically.
I have a little bit of wine left. You want some of it? I know you hate it, but you'll still drink it. No, you won't.
No, not really. I mean, I'm fine with just being finished for right now.
All right.
All right. So, what was some of the things I wanted to talk about?
Do we know what's coming up? We know what's coming up for the summer quote
Like
summer anime.
little.
I think there was like maybe one or two that were like, we'll look at it, but otherwise a lot of it's just kind of like second season or third season stuff.
Some of it, there was a bit I wanted to watch, but I don't remember any of it. Unfortunately, we'll have to save that for another session so we can talk about all the things we're actually interested in watching.
We should do it after we watch at least the first episode of a few of them.
Yeah, there was one. I don't remember what it was called, but
it was something about a beach, wasn't it? About the guy who goes to his uncle's place on the beach.
There is that one. What I was thinking about was the one where the Yakuza like fails the dude, and and
they get a gender bend.
The boss makes them. He tells them they have to commit suicide, or they have to go get a sex change
and become idols.
idols. Oh, it looks insane and crazy, and I
want to
can't
see
wait
it.
to watch it.
I'm just hoping that the comedic timing on it is good, because if it's not, then meh.
Well, I mean, I feel like I think it's like that crazy. I think there's a crazy comedy, kind of like Detroit Mill City or Prison School kind of situation.
True.
Where it's just kind of just so crazy that it's funny because it's insane kind of situation. I think that's how it's gonna be, that type of funny.
I hope so.
There's a few that I've actually been interested in. I just don't remember a lot. There's one that has a huge cast again, and it's basically about this girl who tries to get to school and just can't, and ends up in a bunch of weird situations that just make no sense. But there was like I'm not exactly happy. There's like when I was first reading in live chart, there was like 5 separate isekai shows that already showed up, and like all of them didn't seem that interesting at all.
Right.
And if anybody knows, and this is probably going to save this for another time where I have somebody else to complain about it as well. I have a hard time wanting to get into isekai films because unfortunately it's the new favorite in terms of anime right now.
I'm
A
if
lot of
done
it
right,
comes
like
out
it
of
was
light novels, and it's so stupid.
if done right, like Konosuba or Restaurant to Another World, I don't mind it because those ones you have one that like he literally made a deal with the goddess and then turned it on her, and then the other one it's you just had this door that randomly shows up in different places. It's not necessarily
Or there's Recreators, which just kind of takes a backward situation where all the people from another world comes into the normal world,
Right.
which is really interesting. And you learn that they're just like versions. They're just characters that are created from actual mangakas and like producers and things of that nature, which I thought that was cool.
I would love to see more semi-historical stuff like Rurouni Kenshin was.
But there's always
Like done right. And I'm not saying it has to be like historically accurate and stuff like that. I mean like just done right. Like you had that one where it was like the swords or the weapons came to life and they had to go like into different timelines and do
Are you talking about
stuff.
Drifters?
No, not Drifters. It was a different one. We tried watching it and we just couldn't do it.
I don't remember it. Oh, I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. That was bad. Yeah. But there's plenty of other ones that came out you never watched, like Kingdom Saga, like you never watched, and I told you it was such a good one. There's
was that
also
the one with the horrible animation in the first episode?
No.
Okay.
No, it's one that came out like about 3 or 4 years ago.
Then
but it was good animation. It was pretty good. There's also actually Golden, and I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Golden Kamuy. First episode was bad.
I know it gets better, but it lost me after that. I couldn't do it.
First episode was bad. It gets so much better after the first episode. It's like you just get over the bad CG bear. Bad CG bear, just take that out of your mind.
Bad CG bear is bad.
Bad CG bear is bad. But after that, it was actually pretty decent. Like I'm not gonna lie. And I love the book, so I couldn't get over it. So I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna watch this because I really, really like the manga. So I have to watch it. You should get back to it. Try to watch it. That was good. Legend, what was it? Legend of Arslan? That's actually a pretty decent one.
I need to finish it.
Okay.
That's my only thing.
You were reading it, correct? You were reading the manga for a while,
yeah,
right?
because it's the same mangaka. The author, the story, the person who created the story is from China, but the mangaka that did Full Metal Alchemist is doing the art and manga for...
Yeah, she was a mangaka for the new version of the... This is technically a remake.
Right. And so, yeah, I was partway through it, and then I stopped. I don't remember why.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I wish there was more historical stuff. I really like Drifters. I thought that was
Drifters was interesting, especially considering it was from the person who did Hellsing, and you haven't seen much of anything from that particular person in a while.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting one. The way they put Nobunaga on there was pretty interesting. Oda
Nobunaga. His name is Nobunaga now.
Yeah, that was interesting. Like he was kind of like the most interesting part of it to me. Yeah, like I get that idea. I want more, and I just want more anime like Otakoi that like that wants to delve away
from the high school
trope, and I want more like Megalobox that really like gets gritty and raw kind of situation,
but not over the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's not Edgelord City, which we got a couple of those coming up.
Yeah. Season 3 of Overlord's coming out sometime soon. I heard something about it. Is that coming out this summer?
That's this season.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so I'm definitely watching that.
So we're watching that, obviously.
That was another one that I highly appreciated for its comedic timing for certain parts of it, and it's technically an isekai film. Or not film, excuse me, isekai anime.
It just rolls off the tongue to say isekai film, though.
It does, but it's a good one because it's not necessarily he's being traveled there. It's just it's kind of pulling a Sword Art Online where he gets stuck in this thing, and instead of going, oh well, I need to figure out how to get out of here, he's like, well, I'm here, so I'm gonna just kind of take over this world I'm in now.
Which is weird because there's another anime that's coming out in the summer that's much like Overlord in like the same plot and everything, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But
Which, by the way, to kind of go back on the whole thing we were talking about before with voiceover and dubbing and subbing, that was another one in English dub that I highly appreciated.
oh yeah, yeah, that was really great. That's another one that I just now thought about. Third season of Attack on Titan's on. I still need to watch the second. We still need to watch the second one. Which I've heard that it's good because it focuses more on the psychological fear of it.
Yes.
Which that's the thing I'm missing. I miss another good psychological mystery show.
You mean Fully Cooley's not enough?
That's not a psychological mystery. There's a difference between psychological mystery
And mindfuckery?
and just fuck with your mind. So
Where
just
you're
like,
constantly sitting there going,
what is happening? I don't know.
I don't know, but I like it.
Thank you, Production IG, for just keeping up the Gynex way. Yeah, I need something like Psycho-Pass again for a season and the movie, because the movie was pretty decent. I need something like Psycho-Pass again, where it's just this hard, like kind of gritty, like psychological mystery, and it really like focuses on the world building around it. Especially since that was another cyberpunk like ish like show. That's what I miss. I need another cyberpunk show.
Hasn't none are coming out this season?
I haven't seen anything that's close to that at all. I mean, my cyberpunk kick lately is waiting for Cyberpunk 2077 and that video game. So I mean, that won't come out till probably next year. So I mean, I got nothing right now. I just been rewatching Ghost in the Shell and talking more about it.
My only thing keeping up right now is just whatever coming out in certain seasons. I mean, I will look at what's new for each season in terms of like summer, spring, fall, whatever. But as stands, I'm not enjoying the full lineup and list, because a lot of what I'm seeing is either isekai spinoff or harem type, whether it's reverse harem or...
Well, there's two harems. One is an isekai show that's straight up harem.
That one, I know what you're talking about.
There's another
that one
harem
I didn't
one
care
that
for.
actually looks fun though. And I don't mind harem animes because I don't see them that often. But
not recently, no.
But there has been some that's just been crap. But I mean, I think there's a lot out there that's really interesting that I really, really want to watch. There's quite a bit. I just don't remember all the names, but they're all interesting because they all have different ways of doing things. Like there's a beach volleyball sports anime that I wanted to watch, and people were kind of screaming about it. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, why don't we have a beach volleyball? We got a volleyball one. Why don't we have girls? There was literal like complaints about Haikyuu like being like, oh man, it's just a bunch of pretty guys doing it. What about have some girls doing some beach volleyball? And I was like, well, there you go. I mean, hopefully it's good.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it.
There's another tennis sports anime coming out.
I think it's part of... I want to say it's part of Prince of Tennis, or it could be a spinoff of it. I think Island is the one that I kind of like saw, and I was just
Island
okay.
is the one I really want to watch.
Grand Blue, that's the one where the kid goes to his uncle's place on the beach. That's the one I want to see.
Is that great? Okay, no, yeah.
Are you done, buddy? You good?
Breathe it in. Yeah.
Norris. Damn it! What are you doing? Did you swallow wrong?
Definitely. But yeah, Grand Blue, that looks amazing.
That one
I really want to watch.
really
That
good.
looks flipping.
And that's kind of like a semi-slice of life kind of thing, right?
Yeah. There is, and an Island looks like a really, really good one.
I didn't really think I cared for Island, but I'll look at it.
Island is like essentially these three girls against.
Oh, the Tenryu Sirius the Jaeger.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to see that one just to kind of see it because it's like werewolves versus vampires.
Yeah. What was Grand Blue? Oh, Grand Blue is about college kids that's just going on a vacation.
No, is he? Not college kids. Yeah, he's right before he's about to enter college because he's trying to see if he wants to do that or not.
Yeah, it's just about. Yeah. No, it is college. They start college. But yeah, there's that. There's the tennis. There's the tennis one. Hana Bado. Banana Fish. That's another one. That's another one I want to be good. That's the one. And Banana Fish is based off a manga that's been around for years. That was an old manga. There's a couple others. It's like a weird reverse thing. Backstreet Girls is the one that I was talking about earlier. The Yakuza one, Backstreet Girls.
Yeah, I kind of want to see this one. It's called Asobi Asobese. Base, excuse me. My pronunciation's horrible. Basically, this girl who's like, she's athletically inclined, yet she's really bad at student. She ends up playing games with an American transfer student named Olivia. They end up annoying another classmate, but they're still friends. And then at some point, the main character's like, oh, I'm really bad at learning English. And so she asks her friend, who is from America, mind you, but has grown up in Japan her entire life, can't speak English, like, at all.
True that.
So basically, it's that kind of like, hey, you're from America, right? Teach me English. And of course, they have the American character represented as a blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl. I still want to see it just to kind of see how it turns out.
There is a historical anime coming out that I just now thought about. It's called Anglemos Ginko Kinsenki. Sorry, and it's apparently like this great king from like the other side of the sea, and it's about this incident that shook Ginko around medieval Japan, and some cool things about that.
I'll look at it.
So that'll be interesting. There's some edgelord stuff going on. There's Captain Tsubasa still going, stuff of that nature. And there was this one that looks crazy.
Oh, Zoids Wild. It was done by the same people who animated Pokemon.
Oh yeah, that's the Zoids the Pokemon Zoids. I forgot about that. That's gonna be interesting.
Let's see what else is continuing.
A lot of stuff. There's quite a bit.
Not seeing a whole much of anything else I've been watching that is continuing.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's
Chi Sweet Home.
Oh yeah.
That one. If you want, just heads up, if you want something that's just super cute and just very lighthearted, Chi Sweet Home's a really good one.
Chi Sweet Home is pretty fun.
Especially if you like cats.
There was this one that looks pretty crazy.
Ooh! I just remember, I think September, the My Hero Academia movie comes out.
Yes.
And I kind of really, really want to see it. Some part of me is really hoping that they end up doing like a dub release here in America like they did with Your Name.
Yeah. I would hope so. That would be great.
That'd be nice and wonderful. I mean, they did it with Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball Z Super movie.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
F Fighter. What was that called? They keep putting too many letters into it. I don't know anymore.
I wish I could tell you. But yeah, a lot of things going about. My Hero started up again last week, if I remember correctly.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, we're
Yeah, they had
now.
a 2-week break, and then next one starts off. It's either started tonight or last week. Again, Attack on Titan season 3, Lupin Part 5 started.
Lupin will never die.
Yeah, thank God.
You hear that, Sonny? You still have a job.
I mean, he's got a job everywhere.
No, I know.
He's still got
He's
got
got his
Dragon
own-
Ball Super.
He's got his own studio too.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, there's a couple others that's still going. I mean, some that's good, some that's bad.
Some that you look at and you go, "What?"
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think Progressive will be ending. Progressive, I think, ended by now, and so Alternative will come out in September.
Yeah, because I remember there was something where they were like, "Hey, we have to kind of pause on this because."
Well, no, that was always the plan.
Oh, okay.
It was always the plan. It would come out this time in June, and then Alternative come out in September. Unfortunately, they had to delay for Japanese sub for both till next year.
Why? What was the issue on that again?
I don't know. There was just a delay. I don't remember
Okay.
the exact issue, but essentially we're only getting it in English, which I'm not horrified by hearing Carrie Walgreen grace her voice up for their voice as Haruko.
I highly appreciate. Like, I never realized it with the first Fooly Cooly just because of how young I was compared to now when I first watched it. But like she puts in some of the Japanese stuff that would be in the original
Oh yeah.
Japanese dubbing, but she puts some of that into the English one. Like the sound effects part, like some of the Japanese sound effects for certain things, and for in America you'd hear like a ping or boing, whereas in Japanese it's like booty 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 or something like that, and like the voice actor is doing that, so she does that kind of thing, and I highly appreciate it, and it even adds more to the comedic timing of Fooly Cooly,
Oh yeah, it's great. It was fun.
even if it still never made sense.
Also great to hear Max Middleman and Robbie Damon be in
Oh
it.
my god, it makes me so happy.
Yeah. It's been so fun so far. I really, really liked it. I didn't expect it to like it
I did.
nearly as much, but it felt like I just was right back to where I was when I was first watching Fooly Cooly.
Now, you have to admit, half the reason you're watching is because the pillows are in it.
Oh, hell yeah. You cannot argue the fact that the pillows is some of the best, is literally half of what Fooly Cooly is to me. Like, that soundtrack in the first season is one of the best soundtracks ever.
Obviously, because you have it as your ringtone.
Hell yeah.
Now, mind you, I don't mind just sitting next to you and hear.
Yeah, what's wrong with listening to Writing on a Shooting Star, like, at all times?
Nothing at all. Now, so kind of go off of anime sort of slightly. I kind of wanted to get into. We were talking about this. What was it? We were talking about it on the other night about what we thought of sci-fi fantasy or sci-fi. Yeah, science.
Science fiction.
Yeah,
Sci-fi.
sci-fi, and then sci-fi fantasy stuff, and how we don't. You're saying more today. You don't see a lot of good sci-fi or sci-fi fantasy that deal with time travel.
And Ages of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been the issue for me. Unfortunately, we might have to save that for another time because we're already like an hour right now. But there's definitely something I wanted to talk about. Definitely wanted to talk about that. Wanted to talk about the new anime. Hopefully, next time we record, we'll be on the way to MetroCon and put something out around that time, and we'll talk about.
At least we'll combine that with.
Yeah, we're hoping to combine that, and we'll have a couple guests, Jeff and Mel, if you remember from last time, to talk about one, the new anime, and two, about sci-fi in general. Because I've had some issues with sci-fi as of today in the past shows I've watched, and that's like including Dark Matter and 3%. Actually, 3%'s okay. And some other ones I've watched, and just there's some glaring issues I have in terms of time travel. But hopefully next time we'll be able to talk about that and get some more information.
And then I can rant about Doctor Who.
Yeah, because it's coming up soon, September.
Yes.
But to clarify a couple of things, hopefully we'll be recording much more. We're trying to do it on a weekly basis and try to come out with more stuff. Hopefully we'll get some more things, like maybe some interesting ideas and guests and things of that nature. And hopefully we'll like make this work. But the only way we can make this work if you guys talk more about it and tell your friends about this and get more people to subscribe and talk to us about it.
Yeah, we want your feedback. Like, let us know what you thought. Did you agree? Did you disagree? Or what topics do you think we should cover or talk about in general? Give us some ideas, because sometimes we have brain farts and we go, we don't know. So
yeah, sometimes we don't research enough about what we're looking at because we have lives and we're only like thinking about the next episode of My Hero Academia
or Doctor Who
in different perspectives. But yeah, keep talking, please. Like, share, subscribe. Feel free to subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, both at Nerd Doom, with a 3 instead of an E. And comment and talk more about us. Until then, we will see you guys another time.
See you on the flip side.
Peace.